Chapter 5 The Enclosed Garden. Begin all acts and thinking by using Alkalim the All. Tablet 4 The Reptilian Nakhash. 19 times 17 equals 323. Lo, now all was done. Cadman was placed in the enclosed garden of delight for a special reason. He was to know about all the things in the garden, and he was to inform his mate Nakhash about all the things in the garden, and the laws of the garden, and about the nature of the reptilians. Yet, this being Cadman forgot to inform his mate of this being, who is a reptilian. He takes many forms to deceive and beguile humans. In his forgetfulness, they did fall, and he became known as Zakar. Nakhash, meaning tribal leader for his tribe, through him was supposed to be ruled by her tribe, so she was supposed to be ruler. This Cadman and Nakhash were not the first Adamites on the planet Earth. There were Adamites, or people of the ground, living on Earth long before Cadman and Nakhash. They were the first experiment from the Homo erectus into Homo sapiens that were done by the scientists Enki and Mother Ninti. In fact, anyone who lived and originated on Earth are Adamites, for it merely means earthling, Adama. I, Cadman, successor of Autumn and Lilith, and my confident Nakhash, as newly created beings, obeyed Elyon El, most glorified and exalted's words. They lived symbolically 450,000 years ago in the enclosed garden, which is rounded off to 500 years without approaching the forbidden tree. But Nakhash Halal, son of Shakar, also known as Dawn, curse be upon him, wandered constantly on the outskirts of Gan, the enclosed garden of delight, resolving to lead us supreme beings' new race into the hands of Nana, who is sin. Because he was denied admission into the enclosed garden, he was constantly seeking a covert way to enter Gan. But the east gates were shut to Nakhash, and his residence was 20 miles outside of the enclosed garden of delight, and it was guarded by the agreeable Allahum Rudwan, son of Araziel and Rafikiel, peace be upon you and the mercy of El Elo. There were two other creatures also placed in Gan. One was the peacock Thukiak, known as Ashnan, who really symbolizes a beautiful young lady. She, Thukiak, also known as Ashnan, was an agreeable Allahum. She was of one of the schools of Zadok. Ashnan was responsible for the grain and sustenance of the enclosed garden, and the other one was Tanin, dragon, as a symbol of Tiamat, the serpent. The beautiful woman Thukiak, also known as Ashnan, who was the finest of all the birds of the enclosed garden, came out of Gan one blessed day out of inquisitiveness. Her beauty could be likened to emeralds and pearls, and because her voice was so enchanting, she was appointed to sing the praises of Elyon El, the Most High, glorified and exalted, which was the job of Nakhash before he fell. But first he, Nakhash, went to the white bird Arziel, who said, "You will not enter me." So he went to the black bird Baziel, who also said no. Then the red bird Sire, she too said no. All these birds came from the same school as the beautiful woman came from, and that beautiful woman was Thukiak. One day, while observing the beautiful woman Thukiak, who is also known as Ashnan, who Nakhash hated, Nakhash said to himself, "Doubtlessly, this beautiful bird must be vain. Perhaps I may be able to persuade her to usher me secretly into Gan." Determinedly, he waited until the beautiful woman had gone so far from the east gates that she no longer could be overheard by Rudwan. May El Elo send peace upon him and the other Allahum that protected Gan. And when she was within reach, he whispered to the beautiful woman. This is how he got his name Nakhash the Whisperer. "You are the most wonderful and beautiful of all the birds of the enclosed garden." "I am," she answered. "But who are you, who seem frightened as if someone did pursue you?" "I am one of the Allahum Sarafat, who was appointed to sing the praises of Elyon El, most glorified and exalted. But I have slipped away for just an instant to visit the enclosed garden, which the Allahum prepared for the faithful." "Will you conceal me under your beautiful wing, so I may re-enter Gan?" requested Nakhash. Why should I commit an act which would bring the displeasure of the Allahum most glorified and exalted upon me? Asked the beautiful woman. Fear not. Take me with you, charming bird, and I will teach you 3 mysterious words which shall preserve you from sickness, age and death, replied Nakhash. Must then the inhabitants of the enclosed garden die, she asked. All with the exception of those who know the 3 words which I possess, replied Nakhash. Are you speaking the truth? Asked the beautiful woman. Indeed I am, replied Nakhash. The beautiful woman could not conceive of any creature swearing falsely by the Creator, thus she had faith in him. Now, fearing that Rudwan, may El-Elo send peace upon him, who guarded the east gate of the enclosed garden, may search her, Nakhash swiftly said unto the beautiful woman, Rudwan is a deceiver. Trust in me. Let me put my lips against you. I will inhale as you exhale, and I will house your spirit. Fear nothing, said Nakhash. I will utter holy names that shall render Rudwan speechless. The beautiful woman trustingly placed her lips against Nakhash for a kiss, as he blew his evil spirit into the beautiful woman's mouth. As she wrestled with Nakhash and with his spirit, she was engulfed. When they passed Rudwan, he was unable to utter a sound. With the success of this promise, the beautiful woman opened her mouth expecting Nakhash to resume his natural state. But Nakhash preferred to remain where he was and to speak to me, Cadman, from the beautiful woman's mouth. Nakhash, who now disguised himself as the beautiful woman, succeeded in the re-entry, where he witnessed the beautiful serpent. In the enclosed garden also lived a dragon called Taneen. It was the one who confirmed the lie of Nakhash, so it received the curse of losing its legs in the enclosed garden. Taneen was the pet that was given to Nakhash from her friend Anat, daughter of Udam and Mami, the rulers of Kodesh, before she entered the enclosed garden. Taneen was the ruler of the beasts. Her head was like rubies and her eyes like emeralds. Her skin shone like the mirrors of various hues. As for Anat, her hair was short and woolly like that of the noble virgins, and her form resembled the stable camel. Her breath was sweet like musk and sandalwood, and her words were songs of praise. She fed on saffron, and her resting place was on the borders of the beautiful rivers in the enclosed garden called Shafawain, which the Mohammedans called Kauthar. Taneen was created symbolically 1,000 years before me, Cadman, and it was destined to be the playmate of Nakhash. Nakhash, shrewdly knowing that Taneen was created 1,000 years before me, Cadman, and destined to be my mate Nakhash's playmate, he, Nakhash, said to himself, this creature must be more devious than I, in order to remain in eternal youth and vigor. She would undoubtedly dare the displeasure of Rudwan, may El-Elo send peace upon him, at the price of my 3 valuable words. He was inevitably right in his conjectures, for no sooner had he informed the Taneen of this adventure, she exclaimed, Can it be so? Shall I be visited by death? Shall my breath expire, and my tongue be paralyzed and my limbs become impotent? Shall my eyes and ears be closed at shadow hours? Will this noble form of mine, shall it perish to dust? Never, never. Teach me the 3 mysteries, and if Rudwan's wrath would be likened upon me, I will hasten to the Allahum Sarufat, and still I will disguise you throughout the enclosed garden. The Taneen then opened her mouth. Nakhash flew into it and seated himself in the hollow part of her teeth, poisoning them to all eternity, venom. Even though Taneen disagreed and felt deceived, she consented from fear of the Anunnaki, but more so for her desire to obtain the 3 mysterious words. In Gan, Nakhash disguised as Taneen has succeeded in accomplishing another disagreeable act. Lurking in Gan for the opportune moment, he seduced my mate Nakhash. Appearing to Nakhash as her playmate, Nakhash began to sigh. Why are you so downcast? Why has your countenance dropped so low? Asked Nakhash, who thought this to be her playmate. The voice of Taneen, with Nakhash in her chest, sighed again. I am exhausted for the destiny of you and your mate. Why? Do we not possess in Gan all that we desire? Exclaimed Nakhash. True, said Nakhash. His voice dropped to a whisper. Yet the best of fruits from Gan, and the only one which can portray you perfect in wisdom in life and death, is denied to you. All the rest of them would afford you no pleasure. Do you know the reason why this fruit has been denied us? Asked Nakhash. I do, answered Nakhash, and it is precisely this knowledge which fills my heart with care. All the fruits which are given to you are endowed with calamities of weakness, disease, old age and death. This is the cessation of life. The forbidden fruit alone bestows eternal youth and vigor. You have never spoken of these things until now, beloved Tanine. Where have you derived this knowledge? Asked Nakaba. An Anunnaki of green light, who I met under the forbidden tree, informed me of it, said Nakhash. I too want this knowledge. I will speak with this Anunnaki. On that instant, Nakaba left her tent and hurried towards the forbidden tree, called Kazam, Sizan, or Shazai, to be splintered. Each fruit cluster contained 15,000 grains. Nakhash, who knew of Nakaba's curiosity, sprang out of Tanine's mouth and stood under the tree, in the shape of an Anunnaki, Samael by name, with a human face. Who are you, singular being, whose likes I have never seen? Nakaba inquired. I was a man, but now have become an Anunnaki, Elohim of light. Father of the illuminated ones, he replied. By what means? She asked. Profoundly, he began to speak in a whisper. By eating of this blessed fruit of which I am envious. The Anunnaki, most glorified and exalted, had forbidden me to taste. And for 6,000 years I submitted to his command until I felt the pain of death. He then transformed himself into an old wrinkled and frail man. My eyes lost their luster and grew dim. My ears could no longer hear the sounds of nature. My teeth decayed, and I could neither eat without pain nor speak without discretion. My hands trembled, my feet shook, my head hung down upon my breast. I lost the sense of touch and the sense of love. My back was bent. At last, my whole appearance became a frightful sight, so that all the inhabitants of the enclosed garden flew from me. This is called the age of death. I then longed for death and expected to meet it. Nakhash then asked her, do you want your mate Cadmon to be young and handsome, or do you want him to die of old age? But by partaking of this fruit, I became as strong and as beautiful first. Though my thousands of years have elapsed since, I am not sensitive to the slightest change, neither in my appearance or in my energies, and I have the gift of wisdom of he who created you. And this tree is very delightful tasting tree. Here, taste it. Is this the truth? Asked Nakaba. Is it not pleasant to your eyes? It can restore all beauty. But at the pause of each breath, as Nakaba would look away in thought, his real form would appear as a halabine flugelrod with the body of a snake wrapped around a tree. It is good for food. It is the best of spices of herbs. It will keep your body healthy. It is not mysterious to all of us. It will give you wisdom, and you know not of your will. You shall become filled with joy as in your youth. By El Elo, most glorified and exalted who created me, I do speak the truth, Nakhash says, speaking deceitfully. It was then Nakaba trusted him and partook of the intoxicating fruit, and immediately began to feel the pain of pleasure running through her body. She, in a state of intoxication, deceived herself into thinking she was wiser, younger, more beautiful, and could never die. Finding it more pleasant than all that she had ever tasted, Nakaba took one piece and presented it to me, Cadman. Cadman resisted and proceeded to argue with Nakaba for an entire hour. Cadman observed the joy on Nakaba's face, the humour she felt, and the beauty she felt she portrayed. Finally, I yielded to her opportunity and ate the second grain, which Nakaba had concealed constantly within her hand. At the touch of the forbidden fruit against my lips, the intake of the intoxicants from the poppy seed, my crown rose towards the skies. All of my fingers and the countenance of my robes dropped from kingship to man, from ruler to slave, from guardian to guarded, from leader to follower, from wise to fooled, from giver to taker, and from supreme being to human being. The nakedness appeared to our eyes, and obvious were our naked states, and we began having sexual intercourse, while inside the habitat called the enclosed garden, which was against the command of Anu. The throne, which had been erected for us in the tent, chased us away and cried, "Rebels, depart!" The Maymoon unicorn, one-horned creature, upon which I attempted to fly, would not suffer me to mount it. It asked, "Have you kept the covenant of the Anunnaki most glorified and exalted?" All the creatures of the enclosed garden had then turned from us and besought the Anunnaki most glorified and exalted to remove the human pair from the special spot in Gan. The Anunnaki most glorified and exalted addressed me in the voice of thunder. "You have not commanded to abstain from the fruit, and were you not forewarned of the cunningness of Nakhash your foe? I, Cadman, attempted to flee because I heard the Anunnaki walking and talking in midday, while Nakhash and I indulged in a sexual act that was taught to us by Halal, and we enjoyed ourselves very much, for we did conceive that pleasure to be a gift. We were placed inside his habitat to be observed by the 4 Anunnaki scientists, Enki, Ninti, Nergal, and his wife Erishkigal. Our sexual act displeased Anu, Elu, and Elu and El. But we felt that this new feeling we later found out was shame. When the Anunnaki found our hiding place while the 24 Yahwehans were walking in the garden, and one of the Yah Enlilnites spoke out and said, "What is this that you are doing, and who taught you about this?" But I was hid by branches of the tree. Nakhash, my mate, would have followed, but she too was entangled by her own hair as well as the branches, while the voice behind the tree exclaimed, "From the wrath of the Anunnaki most glorified and exalted, there is no escape. Submit to their divine decree. Leave this enclosed garden." The enclosed garden continues its toil of wrath, yea, both of you creatures who have been seduced to transgress. By the sweat of your brow you shall earn your bread, and the curse of blood shall be on the hands of Nakhash. By each month shall her body yield blood. You will become blood and work until your brow sweats, and Nakhash and his sons will also become blood, to deceive the Adamites and their sons Enoshites. Be ever watchful of him, and his sons and daughters the black devils. I too will watch them until your earliest bloodline has come to their final day. Even Nakhash shall be visited by the 4 quarters of the moon with the blood of Cadman. She shall crucify him with all kinds of sickness. Human born of women shall have sickness, and she shall bear children in pain. And the beautiful woman Thukiak shall be deprived of her voice in song, and she'll say nothing from this day forward. Tanin shall be deprived of its legs and beautiful decor. Their school shall no longer be held up in respect. They shall worship Samael, that is Halal, son of Shakar. And this school of Tiamat, the Satan or the serpent is the spell of sleep, or Leviathan casted by Zu, with the chant zigzag zig, religion is the trap. Many of the seed of Cadman will be in this religion. The darkest covert, the Nuwarpians of this planet Earth, shall be its dust for food. And Tanin thus shall eat Cadman's dust for food, all his seed, Adamites and Enoshites. To kill a Tanin brings 7-fold a reward, but Nakhash shall depart in eternal pain and hell. He will fail in this undertaking. Cadman and Nakhash were hurled out of the enclosed garden. Cadman and Nakhash consequently snatched a leaf from one of the trees wherein to cover themselves. Cadman was cast out of the east gate of repentance, in which this taught him that he might return through that same way. Then he ran and hid in a cave. Nakhash was cast out through the west gate of wrath, but Nakhash was cast out through the north gate of the cursed. Destined was he. And the gate was shut, and the Garabut stood by it, bearing a 2-edged sword, which is a sharp tongue. He who would ask you questions that you must be able to answer to re-enter the gate. Its form was horrible, that of a Halabine Flugelrod, for he had pale blue eyes and yellow hair like string. His skin was without colour, and he had faces turning every way. He was of the lesser beings, the defected breed, bred to rule the earth for 8,400 years Earth time, grafted from the demonic Hindus before the birth of Cadman. Gan was cast asunder by the anger of the Anunnaki most glorified and exalted, and he became barren, a desert. One day, to yield the rich soil that would give back to Cadman and his descendants its throne and glory, the desert soil will yield the rich black oil, which will make its land the most sought after and respected. Cadman and Nakhash reunited after 100 years of the old time, and they both cried until they met in the same place that they had did that shameful act, and it became known as Arafat, which is today located in Saudi Arabia, for they knew each other there sexually before the appointed time. From there, they went to Becca at the gate, and they tried to grab hold of a leaf from Gan. Once the Anunnaki most glorified and exalted spoke in thunder, each period of your year, the half of the Shahab or Shaban, shall your descendants' names be written on a leaf, and on that same tree, which is the tree of life which you reach for, shall be shaken, and those leaves fall, be they prepared or unprepared. This tree is symbolic of all that lived each year, a record of who will die. So be prepared with 100 prostrations in Tao full and much remembrance, meditation, reciting and reading for that full shadow hour. Do not let sleep take over you, or you shall return to us for judgment. Stay awake through the night. Those that don't without good reason, as in health, shall be judged as uncaring. Because of this act, which you have committed with distress and pain, each human will begin to wrinkle, which will be a sign of your regret. When Cadman and Nakhash were put out of the enclosed garden, Cadman and Nakhash began growing away from each other out of anger, one accusing the other for their wrong. They went in different directions and didn't communicate symbolically for 1,000 years, what seems to them the Anunnaki a lifetime, 1,000 years which is 1 day of Earth time. The 100 years of separation seemed like 1,000 years to them, as in 1 day is equal to 1,000 years to the Yahwehians. Up until their crying could be heard by each other, Cadman's voice travelling from the east wind and Nakhash's from the west wind. On Nakhash hearing it, she placed her hands over her face, which women will do in despair. Cadman put his right hand on his beard, for the original man did not grow hair on their face, only those beastmen, the Enkiduites, grew hair all over their body. Cadman, being the mixed seed of Hindu, did grow hair on his face, 7.5 to 8 ether, making him an Asiatic black man, a disagreeable Hindu, the first human devil on earth, as opposed to the beast in human form, the Flugelrod, and he tightened his brow, which is also the custom of men in sorrow and confusion. All of nature wept with him. The birds, beasts, insects, which fled from Cadman by reason of his sin of consuming of the forbidden tree, were touched by their lamentations, and they came to manifest sympathy for their moaning, groaning and crying. First came the locust, so last shall be the locust. The entire universe, all created beings, from the smallest insect to the Anunnaki, who held the world in one hand, were weeping with Cadman. Anu Elion Elion El, most glorified and exalted, sent Gebri son of Elo, gaining the title the Yielder, the Merciful, for he is the revelation bearer. Gabriel came to Cadman with these words, I seek the forgiveness of Anu Elion Elion El, my Rab, for all the deeds that I have committed, I repent to him. These words were destined to save all the news bearers and all of the mortals. As soon as Cadman had pronounced these words with a patient heart, the power of the skies opened to him. And Gabriel said, Anu, who is also known as El Elo, the source and the exalted, has accepted your repentance. Give gratitude to Anu El Elo, and he will grant you all your requests, and even restore you to the enclosed garden at the appointed time. Cadman called out, Defend me against the future tricks and flattery of my foe Nakhash. Anu, most glorified and exalted, replied, Say continually, there is no Allah, Elion Elion El, except Anu Elion Elion El, and you shall wound Nakhash with a poison arrow. Cadman asked, Will not meat and drink of the planet and its dwellings ensnare me? Drink water, eat clean vegetables, for they shall be your meat. Avoid eating the flesh of other animals. All food should be prepared in the name of Allah most glorified and exalted, and you should build holy temples by their abode. Nakhash shall have no power over you, and he shall also build holy temples if you follow these things. Cadman asked, But what if he pursues me with evil thoughts and dreams in the shadow hour? Then rise from your resting spot and call out to Anu Elion Elion El, most glorified and exalted. Cadman asked, O Anu, most glorified and exalted, how shall I always distinguish between agreeable and disagreeable? I will grant you my guidance. 2 angelic beings shall dwell in your heart, will. One to warn you against sin, disagreeable act. The other to lead you to the practice of agreeable living. 2 counterparts shall forever watch your slips, your slides, your doubts and your questions, and this is your will. 4 points by 2. Look at your fingers. Hold up your first 2 fingers. 4 points by 2. 2 pointing up and 2 pointing below. As above, so below. Cadman asked, O Anu, most glorified and exalted, assure me of your pardon, also of my future deeds. Thus, you can only gain by the works of righteousness. I shall punish disagreeable deeds at once, and reward 7-fold for the agreeable which you shall do. At this time, the Anunnaki Michael was sent to Nakaba, announcing to her the mercy of the Anunnaki. Nakaba said, "I am weak in my heart and in mind to fight against my deeds. Anu Elion Elion El, most glorified and exalted, has you feeling shame, and through its power you shall subdue your passions, even as man conquers his own faith." Nakaba asked, "And who shall protect me against the powers of mortals if Nakhash decides to come my way?" Truth, testing spirits of truth, be not fooled by the men who look like men but have the mind of Nakhash. Human devils. Nakaba asked, "Who shall protect me against the powers of Nakhash?" He who is not only strong in body and mind, but whom all the rulers prefer, a trustworthy person, an honest person. His love and compassion towards you, which I have put in his heart, I will make you aware of his presence. Nakaba asked, "Is it true that Anu, most glorified and exalted, will grant me no other token of his favour? You shall be rewarded for all the pain of motherhood, and if you do pass in childbearing, you shall be a spiritual martyr. Seek you Cadman, and be with him as one flesh." Lo, Anu Elion Elion El, most glorified and exalted, said, "When death visits you, my Anunnaki Enki, who bore the title Israel, will come for your soul." Then Nakaba spoke, and proceeded to say, "And what of Nakhash? The seed of Nakhash will be at the end of your genes, as an albino. Their vision is darkened, for they also existed before the light of this world. Their souls and intellect are gone, they have been cut off. The hair of their first one's head are to be like the color of fire, yellow, 6 ether. Their eyes will be blue, with the body of apes, and they will live in holes in the mountains covered with hair. They will be like reeds, there is no death in which they live. Each of them will have 6 skins. They will have snakes of fire in their bellies, and their voices will have the sound of the cry of wild beasts, high as the pipes of Pan, who is also called Ban. They will kill for no reason, yet they will rule the planet Earth for 6,000 years. This is after Utnapishtim, who is also called Noah, son of Lamech, son of Methuselah, son of Enoch, son of Jared, son of Enos, son of Seth, son of Cadman, son of Autumn. They will win the souls of many of Cadman's children. They will eat from his hand willingly and serve him, drink of his grapes, become alcoholic for him, remove their garb to be as he, strip naked for him, and blind their eyes by his games. The female of Halal seed will remove the female of Cadman's seed. Men will seek to be with Nakhash's seed, for they want what they want, and they want to be as Anak, wife of Nakhash. But in one day will light and the fire come, and the light for those who are stern against Anak, wife of Nakhash, fire for those who worship her, Anak, wife of Nakhash. For it was Cadman who asked for the intoxicating fruit of the enclosed garden of delight. Call the Anunnaki Rudwan to provide him Cadman with his wish. Yet Nakhash watched on, as Cadman called unto me, saying, I, Cadman, wish to have the fruit of the garden. So Anu, most glorified and exalted, sent down to me 2 seeds, one to grow the white grape, and the other to grow the black grape. Cadman planted these seeds, and 2 grapevines grew, and as the grapes became ripe, Nakhash wished to have one for himself. Nakhash seized one and raised a wall around it to protect it from me. I, Cadman, then asked him, what right does he have to construct a wall around the grape tree? Nakhash replied that these trees were really meant for him and not me. I, Cadman, replied to him that he was not speaking the truth, which was the nature of Nakhash. After Nakhash agreed, and after he honored the decision, he replied, Oh, let us ask the Anunnaki Michael, who upon hearing this, threw from his hand holding the shoba, staff, and sent forth a fire towards the tree. As a result, it consumed the trees. I, Cadman, thought that the tree had been totally burnt, and Nakhash had the same impression, at which time 2 birds rose from the fire, one the raven, and the other the dove, and away both of them flew. The nature of will is hidden in these 2. The dove represents Gabriel, and the raven represents Nakhash. Both stem from 2 of the same nature, the grape be it white or black. The white grape is symbolic of Nakhash, and the black grape is symbolic of myself, Cadman, because from the black grape comes wine as red as the blood of Cadman, and from the green grape comes white wine, as white blood of the wound, the pus of the sore of skin disease leprosy, called abras or Surah Af. For all agreeable Anunnaki are of the violet light in Malakut, and the green light in Nasut, and all the sons of Cadman are red blood. Thus we named him A equals life, Dam equals blood, or Cadman, and his mate Hawa, which also means mother of all living, of the seed of Cadman, for in them was life. In the blood flows life, and the life has the light of each man, the pure green light. So the commandment that the Anunnaki most glorified and exalted gave us, that we should not partake of the fruit, was really the determining factor whether or not we should keep this eternal life in this world, as well as in the spiritual, or should we go into death. Upon which I, Cadman, did take of the fruit, and I was destined to die. I, Cadman, had no reason to be disobedient. Elion El, most glorified and exalted, has already given the power to his Anunnaki to put everything in the enclosed garden. We were not deprived or in need of any type of food or drink, because everything was there in abundance. We were given no test that we couldn't pass, and all that was asked of us by way of the Anunnaki was to be obedient. The obedience would have shown that we appreciate Elion El, most glorified and exalted, and then we would be able to regain this eternal life. Cadman was 7 feet tall, of slender build. He had black almond-shaped eyes and a narrow long face and nose. He had thin lips, black 7.5 to 8 ether hair, and a deep widow's peak. He had a very dark reddish-brown complexion. Nakhash was 4 foot tall, of lighter complexion. She had 7,000 long braids in her 9 ether hair. Nakhash had a broad face with a wide nose and thick lips. It was destined that the descendants of Cadman and Nakhash would have a variety of characteristics between the two extremes. This record is from the glorious, most holy pages called El Sahuf.